In the heart of New York City, a voice of peace was silenced forever, marking the beginning of a decade drenched in crime. December 1980, outside the Dakota apartment building, a beacon of music and change, John Lennon, was brutally murdered. The world stood still, shock and disbelief echoing across continents. The man behind this heinous act was Mark David Chapman, an individual driven by a twisted desire for fame and a chilling interpretation of The Catcher in the Rye. The motive was as senseless as the act itself, a cruel irony considering Lennon's lifelong message of peace and love. Lennon's death sent shockwaves through the music industry, a void that many argue has never been filled. His music, his messages, they live on, but the world was robbed of a creative force that night. The senseless murder of John Lennon was only the beginning of a decade that would be remembered for its shocking crimes. As the world mourned the loss of Lennon, a sinister figure was lurking in the shadowy corners of California. The original Night Stalker, a name that would send a shiver down the spine of even the bravest souls, was an unidentified serial killer who unleashed a reign of terror from 1980 to 1986. His victims, numbering at least 10, lived in constant dread as this faceless menace prowled the night. With each new crime, a wave of fear rippled through the Golden State. The residents, once carefree, now locked their doors and peered out their windows with trepidation. Despite the tireless efforts of law enforcement, the elusive predator always seemed to slip through their grasp, leaving behind only a trail of unsolved cases and unanswered questions. The original Night Stalker would remain a mystery for decades, a chilling reminder of the darkness that haunted the 80s. In the suburbs of Chicago, a man with a clown smile hid a horrifying secret. This man was John Wayne Gacy, a respected figure in his community, known to entertain children at parties dressed as Pogo the Clown. Yet beneath this jovial exterior lurked a ruthless serial killer. Gacy's double life was as shocking as it was gruesome. He was a successful businessman, a precinct captain, and even had his picture taken with the First Lady. Yet in the dark confines of his home he committed atrocities that defy comprehension. His house, a macabre graveyard, held the remains of 26 victims buried in the crawl space. In December of 1978, Gacy's horrifying secret was uncovered, leading to his arrest and eventual conviction. His trial was a media frenzy, the details of his crimes chilling the nation. John Wayne Gacy's crimes shook the nation, revealing the terrifying reality that monsters could hide in plain sight. In Atlanta, a city's worst nightmare became reality as children began to disappear. Between the years of 1979 and 1981, a series of heinous acts, now known as the Atlanta child murders, shook the city to its core. Fear gripped Atlanta as 28 African-American children, adolescents, and adults were brutally murdered. Each victim, aged between 7 and 28 years, vanished without a trace, their bodies later discovered in remote locations. The crime sparked a nationwide manhunt, eventually leading to the arrest of Wayne Williams, a local music producer and freelance photographer. Despite the circumstantial evidence, Williams was convicted for 2 of the adult murders and the remaining cases were closed, attributing them to Williams without formal charges. This decision ignited controversy, with many questioning the validity of his conviction. Even today, doubts persist, and some argue that the real perpetrator may still be at large. The Atlanta child murders left a city forever scarred, marking one of the decade's most horrifying chapters. As the 80s drew to a close, so did the reign of one of its most feared predators. Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, held Los Angeles and San Francisco in a grip of terror with his gruesome crimes. His chilling spree began in the mid-80s, and for over a year, he unleashed a wave of violence that would forever scar these cities. Ramirez's reign of terror was brought to an abrupt end when he was recognized and captured by residents of an East Los Angeles neighborhood. The capture was a moment of relief, but it also ushered in a media frenzy. The subsequent trial became a spectacle, filled with shocking revelations about his crimes, and an unsettling fascination with the man himself. The capture of Richard Ramirez marked the end of a decade dominated by true crime, a chilling legacy that still haunts us today.